Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is NHLRumors.com. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment below. Got a lot of things to talk about. It's funny. Every week we come on here, usually it's a little quiet this time of year. We're talking about playoff races, who's getting in, who's getting out, who's left on the bubble, similar with like March Madness. And we talk about the college football playoff now. But back-to-back weeks within a week of each other, and another general manager fired, another coach fired. And we're going to start with the general manager first. Tom Fitzgerald fired as the general manager and team president of the New Jersey Devils. Now, he was the president of hockey operations, general manager, but 6 seasons at the helm, 2 playoff appearances, 1 playoff win, not good enough for a team that expected to be in an Eastern Conference final by now, maybe contending even more. And there's a lot of missteps, and as we've documented at NHLRumors.com as well as DevilsNation.com, there's a lot of missteps along the way for Tom Fitzgerald. Let's talk about the drafting, the developing, the players, the hits and the misses. Obviously, the big misses right now, the overcorrection, right? You trade away a top 6 forward, you never try to get it back. You hear about, we got goal scoring, it'll be there when we want to, but then, it's hard to score goals in this league. Well, if you didn't trade Tyler Toffoli away, maybe, and you signed him, or got Jonathan Marshall or another aspect somewhere, maybe, just maybe, you wouldn't be in this problem. Then, the installation of the roster. Every time Jack Hughes goes down, the team struggles offensively. They have to insulate this roster better. Whether they stick with this core or not, whether guys like Jesper Bratt, Nico Hischier, Dawson Mercer, guys like that are still around, right? You have to insulate it better. So in order to absorb an injury. Now, granted, like any team that you lose one of your best players, it's going to be tough to compete. But we've seen that teams figure out a way to tread water. Now, 1 injury, 2 injuries, that's one thing. 4, 5, 6 injuries. And at the time, we talked about it. We came on here. Not trading for Quinn Hughes was a big thing. But, you hear reports, they didn't want to deplete their roster more than they did. They didn't have the depth. But that roster and that locker room was looking for something from the outside. Now, maybe they should have been looking at themselves. But ownership, David Blitzer felt that it was best for business. It was the best thing for both parties. Tom Fitzgerald agreed that it was time because this is the mileage you get out of a general manager. It's results-based business. And he didn't get the results for this team. They said, okay, go try to clean it up. He couldn't. Hesitant of making moves. Hesitant to break up this core. Hesitant to move off of players that he drafted because he believed in them. Too many of the same player. Too many playmakers. Again, it's the same old story with the Devils. And they're just not getting out of their own way. And 2 playoff appearances to do it. And they couldn't get Quinn Hughes. Like, let's be honest. He probably wanted to come to New Jersey. And Luke and Jack probably wanted him there. And he ends up going to Minnesota. Don't think he doesn't remember that. This is the same reason why Steve Yzerman's in trouble right now in Detroit. Maybe you go get a guy like, a Quinn Hughes. Maybe they're not having the issues that they're having, right? So let's talk about it, right? Now, you have too many no-trade clauses, too many movement clauses, the mismanagement of Dougie Hamilton. And don't fool you with the language that Tom Fitzgerald, Sheldon Keefe, and everybody else said about Dougie Hamilton being a healthy scratch because of poor play. It's absolutely not for poor play. Speaking with his agent, it was about them trying to force a trade to a place he didn't want to go. While he was open to it, again, they tried to move him to San Jose. He said no. Again, that's his right. He has a 10-team trade list. There's another signing bonus that's due on July 1st. I wouldn't be shocked after the fact that they get rid of Dougie Hamilton and try to start over and start with Simone Nemec on the back end. They need to start insulating this roster better. And again, little missteps along the way. Was the coach handcuffed? Was the general manager handcuffed at the deadline? Nick Bukestad, and moving around the top 6 isn't changing a roster. There were supposed to be tough decisions last offseason. Wasn't. Everybody saw moves coming a mile away quicker than the Devils did. Again, the whole Luke Hughes contract mess. Why did that go as long as it did? You knew the number was 9. Why did it take so long? Everybody knew you were going to put Kovacevic on LTIR to begin the year, and you could be 10% over the cap. Again, easy to kick a man when he's down, easy to not say this stuff when he wasn't in office, but we were saying this stuff while he was in office, while he was holding the position. Just couldn't get it done. Early on, great trades, making the team better, but a lot of overcorrecting. You didn't stay with the model, which was working in 22-23, being a fast, attacking, relentless team based on speed, great rush team, best offense. Best defense is a good offense. Stay in the offensive zone. Protect your goaltender. Limit the shots. That's what they did so effectively. That's why they got to the second round. And you hold on to your goaltending. You keep Vitek Vanacek, Akira Schmid. and you don't replace the veteran defenseman on the back end. Talked about it numerous times, not keeping David Severson or moving on, or just bringing in somebody, relying on young guys when they weren't ready. Then you overcorrect the following year. Then you get to go. It's just a litany of stuff. And like in the Toronto situation with Brad Treliving, how many times can the owner and ownership group hear, it's on me, it's on me, it's on me? That's great. You're holding yourself accountable, but at some point it's going to cost you your job. And it did with Tom Fitzgerald. And the Devils just need a new voice, new direction. And again, when you're hesitant to make moves, when there's too much loyalty throughout the organization, this is a problem. I expect there's going to be massive changes throughout this organization. Again, prevailing thought is there'll be a president of hockey operations with a general manager. Again, the big rumor out there, Brendan Shanahan going to come in. He did that with the Leafs. That was his title. He can manage up while helping around. Remember, the best model, we focused in on this so many times, best model, what we got going in Montreal right now. Yes, we see what's going on in Florida. Montreal has yet to hit its peak. It's moving, but again, in a wide open Eastern Conference, you can do this. But you have a Jeff Gordon type with a Ken Hughes type, great management, great development staff. Insulate everybody. It's just not about numbers. It's just not about eye test. It's about a combination of both. The New Jersey Devils have massive changes coming throughout the organization. Yes, you can get input from Kate Madigan. Yes, you can have input from other people that were there, but it has to be clean slate because according to people and sources close to NHLrumors.com and other outlets, the answer is not going to come from inside. They tried it once, didn't work. They got to go outside. Again, you look at names like a Tyler Dello, like a Peter Chiarelli, like a Sonny Mehta. You look at, obviously, Martin Madden, Mark Yannetti, guys like that. Ross Mahoney out in Anaheim, guys that know how to draft, develop. Guys like that where you could do the hockey side, but the number side is there because you got to get all the data points. There's a Chris Pronger brought in to look at. Evan Gold up in Boston, Jamie Langenbrunner out in Boston. What about a Doug Armstrong type? Everybody, all the usual suspects will be available. Mark Bergerman's, all that stuff. It's going to be the most attractive job out there. They have a nice young piece, but there's going to be some questions. Sheldon Keefe talked about it before the Flyers game, before the Devils completely laid an egg. Talked about he's under evaluation. They're going to discuss it after the season. Everything's on the table. He's got to be a part of the process. When the coach doesn't deliver the GM's message to the players, look, Sheldon Keefe and Tom Fitzgerald were tied at the hip. Tom Fitzgerald came in, waited to hire Sheldon Keefe with other available coaches like a Gerard Gallant, like Craig Berube, like Jay Woodcroft, like Peter Lott. There were so many guys available, but he waited until Sheldon Keefe got let go by the Toronto Maple Leafs to make the move, and here we are. Is there a possibility? There's always a possibility the coach stays, but then maybe we're just prolonging the inevitable like we've seen on the island, right? Again, New Jersey probably needs to just clean house, get everybody in new systems. We know Nico Hischier has a year left on his deal. He talked about, he's focused on playing hockey. He's with New Jersey right now, and then we'll see what happens. Again, it's been a growing sense of growing frustration from Nico's end that he hasn't won. He was brought in to be here to win. They were building around him. They haven't done it. Missed playoffs more than they've been. One playoff series win. Again, injuries can't be an excuse. It was last year. Look, it saved Tom Fitzgerald's job last year because of the injuries that entering the playoffs, Jack Hughes getting hurt. But this year, injuries couldn't be an excuse. It just couldn't. This team was expected to be second, third in the Metro, get back to the playoffs, win a couple of rounds. Didn't happen. Yeah, you can blame goaltending, you can play defense, you can blame whatever you want. The team just wasn't good enough to compete. They changed styles. Now the style coming out of the Olympic break looks like the team everybody expected them to be and build around. So the New Jersey Devils have a lot of questions to answer. It starts at the top, and they work their way down. It's going to be a search. They're going to do their due diligence. But as we've seen with Matthew Darsh and other teams around the league, if your guy's available, you have to go get him. I think the fact that the Nashville Predators are furthest along in their GM search, Toronto Maple Leafs just dipped their toe in the water. If there's candidates the Devils want, they got to go get them, got to spend the money. And I think that's how they're going to do this. Everybody expected this change. You could see this change coming a mile away. When the general manager calls for a press conference 10 minutes after the trade deadline, it's never a good sign. He was done for then. He was done for. And no disrespect for those on television and other places. No disrespect here. Everybody has a right to their opinion. But everybody knew when Quinn Hughes, the trade didn't go down, you knew the writing was on the wall. The writing was on the wall a long time ago. And there was reports last year he was on the hot seat. The reports earlier this season he was on the hot seat. Just things didn't work out. Couldn't clear the money. Couldn't move the contracts. Just handcuffed himself from making any moves. And he took a great core that had a lot of cap space and tied it up and handcuffed himself because he couldn't make any other moves. When a guy like Quinn Hughes becomes available, you go and get him regardless of what it does to the dynamic of the room. If you have to give up something to get something, we've seen the Florida Panthers not be afraid. Teams are not afraid. Aggressive GMs are not afraid. Sometimes, the best thing for a team to do is just court a new direction. We saw it with Tampa. Yzerman was there. Not that conservative, but you have to wonder with the moves that the Detroit Red Wings have made, non-moves they made, if he was still there, did they win those 2 Stanley Cups? Julien Brisebois, very aggressive to get his team in a position to win. And now Detroit, right? We've talked about it. Detroit, the pressure's on Steve Yzerman. They keep falling behind in the Eastern Conference. This is why, look, there's a belief and that Marty Brodeur doesn't want the general manager position. There's also belief ownership doesn't want to give it to him because it's a similar situation happened in Detroit. Steve Yzerman, legend for that team. Yes, he's frustrated. Yes, he's a competitor. But Chris Ilitch isn't Mike Ilitch. Mike Ilitch probably would have said, Steve, hey, where's the results in this? We're going to have to move on. Guy that's done things for you, Hall of Fame player, might not be a Hall of Fame builder. You have to move on, but then it's a tough decision when the guy fails and he wanted to be there and he brought a Stanley Cup there as a player. Hard to move on from that. And Detroit's finding out right now. There's pressure on. And again, they're getting restless there. And I understand it's only been there 7 years. It's going to be 10 years, potentially no playoffs. That's bad for an original 6 team. But Yzerman has to deliver. People are tired of hearing about they're coming, they're building, all the right pieces are in place. There were a lot of prospects he didn't want to move, but there was some decision-making and some contracts that he made that were very questionable as well. So there's going to be evaluation going on in Detroit if they do not make the playoffs come the end of the season. Okay, we mentioned it, right? New York Islanders make a coaching change. Pete DeBoer comes in. Patrick Waugh out. That's Easter. Devils moves the Monday. The week before Brad Treliving goes on a Monday. The week before Bruce Cassidy is out. John Tortorella in. And the coach bump is real, folks. 4-0 in Vegas. Islanders got 4 games left. They go 4-0. They could be in the playoffs. 3 days off, make the system. Matthew Darsh said, Waugh didn't lose the room, but the timing was right to get his team to play better. Protect Sorokin, get back to the details. Pete DeBoer in the first seasons of being with teams can guide him Stanley Cup final. Now 4 games left, we'll see what happens. It's very, very rare, except one instance. Everybody knows Larry Robinson and the Devils went to the Stanley Cup final, won, right? Went back the following year. Claude Julien's experiment didn't work either when he went behind the bench. They fell in the second round. So New Jersey has not a lot of work to do in terms of what they have to do, but the Islanders, look, we know what they can do. They got a good young team. Matthew Schaefer's hitting a wall. There's a lot. Now let's see if he can spread out the minutes. Barzal, the center, got 3 days of practice. Let's see. The Islanders trying to make the playoffs, tight Eastern Conference. But Darsh felt this was his guy, not only for now, but years moving forward. Got a 4-year deal. We'll see what happens on the island, see if they can get in. But again, it may not just be for this year. It's not like the other situations with Torts and Rick Bowness. We'll figure it out after the season. He's the guy for the future on the island with Pete DeBoer. Again, guys wear out their welcome, but sure, this is what the Islanders need right now. Now, Nashville Predators, again, we mentioned it before, the usual suspects are involved there. Tom Fitzgerald's name is going to be brought up. We know he's the first captain. We know Barry Trotz's first coach. That, again, the sentimental stuff in business, it's great, but that's not how you run a team. They're going to have to look outside their organization. If he is in the running, if he is the favorite, that's not the best for business in Nashville because we got to figure out with Jonathan Marchessault, Steven Stamkos, what's the direction of this team, Andrew Burnett. Again, loyalty brings you so far. Then you got to get cutthroat and you got to build your team the right way and do things the right way in order to be successful. Being friends in the hockey business, it's about the winning business, not the hockey business. Again, Toronto Maple Leafs hiring a firm to help them with their GM search. It's the same firm that represents Sonny Mehta. So is it Sonny Mehta coming in? Mike Gillis going to be the president of hockey ops. The usual suspects will interview in Toronto as well. Lots of managerial coaches' decisions coming at the end of the season. Will Craig Berube be back? Will there be a GM change in Vancouver? Will there be a coaching change in Vancouver? Will DJ Smith stay in LA? Obviously, the big now with Alex Ovechkin playing potentially his final game at Toronto, media, he was announced as a Masterton recipient for the Washington Capitals, the nominee. And he sat down with John Walton and said basically he's not sure yet, as we've been reporting on NHLrumors.com. He's going to make his decision in the offseason. And then he went on to say, post-media at the skate, first day of summer, jokingly, he's going to talk to everybody. He's going to see how he's feeling. It comes down to health, comes down to how his body feels. It's also going to come down to what the Capitals do and the direction they go in. We know that locker room was not happy that John Carlson got traded and Nick Dowd got traded. They're still in the race. He's their best goal scorer by far, still 30-goal season. What else do they have coming? We know he's not a big fan of the tour, the farewell tour, but everybody's different. I think you try to get him back one more year, but he's got a decision to make. It's not going to come now. It's not going to tell us. It's in the offseason. So, again, and that's going to be a question moving forward about Alex Ovechkin. Will he come back? Won't he come back? Everybody wants to see the grade 8 and Sid go out together. I think that would be something fun for everybody. But, again, it's his decision, what he wants to do. Like Malkin, we know Malkin wants to come back in Pittsburgh. It just comes down to dollars and cents when it comes to what the Penguins want to do. Kyle Dubas, the contract, all of that. But Alex Ovechkin, again, we'll see what he wants to do. He's going to be 41 next season. That's a lot of miles on the body. But he is one of the Capitals' best players. I think a lot of people would like to see him come back. But it's his decision. It's in his hands. That's what he keeps telling the media. So a lot of moving parts. Again, big news. Another coaching change, another GM change. Obviously, Alex Ovechkin. Where do the carousel pieces fit? When does the carousel stop? We got the draft. We got free agency. Not much of it. Stay tuned. NHLrumors.com. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment. Enjoy the rest of the regular season. This has been Jim Biringer, and get ready for the Stanley Cup playoffs.